one of the things I could do at this time is Q&A. And I'm happy to do that, but I really,
well, no, it's your training plus
some Q&A. Okay, so what I really want to do is to do kind of 2 trainings in one. And the first is the sticky note training. And I know that I have done that via Voxer. But if you guys are like me, this is a visual activity for me. This was never done with a lot of thought, but I had to see it in order to see my region come to life. So I'm going to do that first. And then I'm going to do a little bit of what I call lean in, lean out. Now I have a learn and burn on lean in, lean out. So nothing that I say today isn't already transcribed at Arbonne. You can get that training. It's, I think Tony Templeman did on SoundCloud. But basically, what the questions that I get a lot are about verbiage, and they're about system. So that's the nuts and bolts stuff that Kim was talking about today. So I want you guys to know I always led with the business because my mentor always led with the business. That didn't mean that I recruited business partners all that quickly. I did go to area in 5 months because I had 4 people who jumped on board, so they must have seen the vision. But they really kind of wanted to play Arbonne, and I think they wanted to spend more time hanging out than actually building the business, which is why as an area, I became that team of 1.5 because they all fizzled out, okay? But what ended up happening is between that jump of $12,000, so I was a $12,000 area manager in January of 2011, and I came back from GTC because Rita talked to me in an auditorium filled of 17,000 people. She pointed at Mo Boger. You guys had those moments, right? Where she's talking to you know? And she told me, how dare I not? And she actually told us all that her cab driver, who had done some 55 trips from the airport, had not one time been talked to about Arbonne. And we were all like, oh God, I hope he wasn't my driver. But the point is I didn't talk to my driver either. So I knew I needed to do more. And it's what Lindsay said yesterday, I can do more. And I literally remember Rita punching me in the gut and then like wanting to leap down 4 rows of stairs to reach Kirsten Costello, who is the loving leader in my organization. She's my upline MVP. And I needed to just apologize to her for not doing enough. You know those moments where you just want to find your people and be like, I am playing so small. So that moment was a transition for me. And I went home from GTC, it was at the end of January. I went home from GTC and I came home and I told my husband, so this is husband number 1. And I told my husband, I was like, this is it. I am transformed. And I started to you know, purge. Now, if any of you have unsupportive spouses, that's a bad idea. What you need to do is just drip, ask them how their time was, but I didn't know, so I just purged. And he goes, you know what, if you're gonna do it, just go effing do it. And I was like, again, it's like I got punched in the gut. So I share that story with you guys is some of you are gonna go home from this retreat, and you are up here, and you're gonna let someone else take you down here. Something's gonna happen. Whether it's, oh, Adam forgot his shoes for soccer, and then all of a sudden you're totally distracted and your brain is out of the game, or a husband punches you in the gut, or a non-supporter. So I knew right then, like the enemy was visiting, right? Enemy was in the room. And I was like, no, you're not going to steal my joy. And those words actually came out of my mouth. And it was the beginning of an unraveling of that part of my marriage. And at that point, my husband went into my office. He destroyed my desk. He set my client cards on fire. He destroyed my computer. And he said, try to do it now. Like he had just put the challenge out there, just go do it. And then he took away my resources to make it happen. Once again, the enemy. And I was like, you know what? I have client cards, but I also keep client profile sheets. I don't need a computer because I have a cell phone. I don't need a desk. I can work Arbonne from anywhere. And my suitcase is already packed because I just got back from Vegas. So I took my happy fanny to my Mazda and I left. That was the birth of the sticky note system. So if you've ever heard that training, it sounds like I had some type of epiphany. No, what I had is a confrontation with the enemy, and I realized that 2 things could happen. I could either lean in or I could lean out. I could take Darren's challenge, which is my ex-husband, or I could take Rita's challenge, okay? So I'm gonna ask you, when you face the enemy, whatever that is for you, distraction or deceit or disappointment or fear, that you go ahead and lean in. And what I decided to do in that moment was to take myself out of thought, because my brain was so filled with all of the stuff from GTC, and now I had experienced all this stuff at home, that I decided, Mo, what is the simplest thing you can do right now? Because this feels very overwhelming. And I remember hearing about how sticky notes were invented. It's kind of stupid, right? It was like serendipity. And so I went and got a pack of sticky notes from Walmart. I checked into a hotel, which is right across the street from Walmart. And I got on the hotel bed and I took 5 sticky notes. So that's the birth of the sticky note system. And I decided to go ahead and just make my life as simple as possible in that moment. Sticky note number 1 said, offer the business. Rita told me to offer the business. She said, offer it to the cab driver. So I'm going to start with Rita. Rita said, offer the business. I'm going to do that. So she's sticky note number 1. Sticky note number 2 is to offer the show. Ask for the show. I'm going to ask for the show because what I've been taught is that they say no to the business, they will most likely say yes to the show because they feel bad about saying no to the business. So why not use obligation as a tool, you guys? And I tell my team that all the time. Use obligation as a tool to get people to do things. I feel obligated to do laundry. Right? Like, obligation isn't a bad thing. It's actually a motivator for a lot of human behavior. So use it to your advantage in your Arbonne business. Sticky note number 3 was the thing that came after the show, which was for us, the one-on-one, the sample pack, the gold bag drop-off, the fit kit drop-off. Okay, that's basically the one-on-one time. Now, one-on-one time could be spent talking about the business, but it could also be spent talking about the product. So just be mindful that sticky note number 3, for me, it said one-on-one, but it was kind of a myriad of, it could migrate up to ask for a show. It could mean we're talking about the business, which was, fine. Great. Sticky note number 4 was follow up. Okay? Because we all need to do that in our business, and we need to follow up with people we've done one-on-ones, people we've done shows with, and people who we've offered the business. And then sticky note number 5 was ask for the referral. So this was my way of clearing my brain, because sometimes what will happen is I overthink things, and like Tammy said, it gets too much for me, and so I had too much in my head, too much emotion, too much great from GTC, too much bad from that moment that I got home. So I just needed to go back to the basics, keep it really simple, make it rudimentary. And I think that this system can work for anybody because it's 5 sticky notes. Who can't do that? And then what I decided to do was to say this right here. And I looked at those 5 sticky notes on the hotel bed and I said, that is my region. And region is going to be for me about an $8,000 to $10,000 a month paycheck, because I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do what Linda Parker said, and I'm going to get 8 areas wide. I'm going to max the comp plan. And when I do that, I'm going to leave that man. So I don't know what the fire is in your belly, but that was a motivation for me. But I was going to do it also anyway. You see what I mean? Because Rita already told me to. So had I come home to love and affection, I was going to do it anyway because I was already challenged by Rita Davenport, and you don't turn that challenge down. So who's going to challenge you this weekend to go home and do it? Pick your person and then go home and do it. So then what I did is at Walmart, when I was there, I picked up these 3x5 cards. And on those 3x5 cards, I wrote the name of every single person in my cell phone, because he didn't take my cell phone. I had those client profile sheets in the trunk of my car for some reason. For some reason. Okay. So I got those client profile sheets, and I'm not totally organized anymore. So I had like cocktail napkins, business cards, like random notes in my purse, and I just grabbed them all out, and I was like, oh, there's people here. And then I went to Facebook, which was actually a new medium for us. We weren't really Facebooking in 2011 a lot. And I wrote down the name of all of these people. And then the last thing is I went to my 100-person list, which I always kept on an Excel spreadsheet, which I had emailed to myself so I could pull it up on my phone. You guys, I had hundreds of names. Now, some of them overlapped. So you don't put one name on one card. And I remember holding this deck of cards, and I don't care if your deck of cards has 60 names in it or 600 names in it. You are sitting on your region, or you are sitting on your nation. Your business is in your business. It was already there. I remember thinking, oh, I'm closer than I think. Bless you. Bless you. You guys are closer than you think. And then I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1'd it. Now, I did not know Mel Robbins at the time, and I didn't know her concept. But I knew I needed to stay out of my head. Neuroscientists need to remind themselves often to stay out of your head. And I think you guys need to do it too. I think women in general need to remind themselves. Men are great at it. But women need to remind themselves to stay out of their head, right? And I just decided to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 every name on that list. First card, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Amy. Oh, she needs a business. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Amanda. Oh, shoot, there's a big fat no to the business even just 2 weeks ago. I'm going to ask for the show. Sarah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, she came to that show. I haven't followed up with her. She just bought a fit kit 9 days ago, and I haven't done anything. Follow up. So you see, I sorted. I sorted once, and this is what happened. My business came to life before me. But the second piece of that activity is to sort again. Because even though you're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1-ing it, some of you will do this. And all of a sudden, someone you wanted to put in the business pile is now in the follow-up pile. That is about you. That is about ego. That's about fear. That's about rejection. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to now go through your piles one more time. And if you are satisfied that the person in the follow-up pile belongs in the follow-up pile and she doesn't belong in the business, then keep her there. But if you are not satisfied, listen to your tug, because your tug is gut spelled backwards, right? Like, listen to it. And that's usually a nudge from someone who knows much more than you and someone who has a plan for them, to which you get to be the vehicle handing them the world. So sort a second time and make absolutely certain that your piles are accurate. Every time I do this with consultants, and I do this activity with all brand new consultants, I physically sit on the floor with them and do this activity, and my team does that as well. And it is labor intensive and it's time consuming, but it's my belief that if I spend this time in relationship with them, building relationship, and I help them to see their business come to life before them, they will fear it much less. Because it's right there. It's all there. It's mathematics. See that? That pile right there says you have 52 people in that pile. That's just mathematics, sister. Okay, so that's what I do with the sticky note. And the thing about the sticky note system is that I try to do this for myself about every 90 days. Because my names change and people move through the piles. So just pretend like you're a blackjack dealer, you know? You don't really care. Like, you don't really care where they end up, in all honesty, because it's never about you. But the idea is, when you see your piles, to make an acknowledgement. Okay, we heard Linda Parker talk about this yesterday. It's awareness. I became very aware that my biggest pile was offer the business and follow up. That taught me two things. One, I'm not afraid to offer the business, because if I was, my business pile would be very small. Okay, because I'd be prejudging and I'd be putting everybody in the show pile or whatever. The other thing it taught me is that I suck at follow up, because that pile was way too big. So I decided that those were the two things I needed to work on first. Eat that frog, right? Brian Tracy, eat that frog. Do the thing that you know is either hardest for you or that you excel at first. And in that moment, because I was feeling a little bit sheepish and a little bit small because of what had happened with Darren, I decided I was going to tackle the thing I was best at instead of the thing I was worst at. I needed to gain some confidence in that moment. So I picked up the phone. I had 56 people in the business card pile. And this is when I offered them the business. So now this is when I'm going to transition. And now here's what I want to tell you really fast. If your strength is asking for the show, then start there. I always teach the funnel, offer the business first, but I want you to gain confidence. And if you are feeling sheepish and small and you're like, she told me to always offer the business first, but man, I'm great at getting shows booked, then do the show. Calendar activity leads to what? Our number one reason for booking a show is trying to find a business partner. Right? Looking around that living room. And I want you to gain so much confidence. You're like, I'm a show booking machine. And now you can then get into your business pile and then realize, oh my gosh, people say yes to me. That means I'm going to have people who will say yes to my business. Now, as far as offer the referral pile, I very seldom talk about this because, to be honest with you guys, I didn't ever get to that pile. When I offered the business to those 56 people, 26 of them said yes, they would take a peek. Of those 26 people, 9 of them went into qualification for district in February. All 9 were direct to me. Remember how I told you Linda Parker told me to get 8 areas wide? 9 of them were direct to me. They all promoted out in March, and I went from a $12,000 area to a $49,000 area in March, region qual, $56,000 in April. Right? Because it's all right there. Because 11 people, because Linda always taught me the double district, find them a partner because they're more likely to stay. So of those 9, we did this system with them. And of those 9, we ended up with 11 new district managers in qualification in March. Of those 19 total, by the time we hit the end of May, or the end of April rather, we had 16 new district managers. So as a region, I wasn't like this, like a lot of regions. I was like this. We had momentum, okay? And everybody knew to follow this system. And I love this idea. I do this with anyone who's struggling. And why? Because we just go back to basics. Go back to your 100-person list. I couldn't say this louder. You are sitting on your regions and your nations right now. They're already in your web stats or your dashboard. they just aren't alive to you because you haven't made them tangible. So take a name and make it, and make a story out of it. So now people always ask me, what did you say to get all those people to take a peek at the business? Or, Carleeta calls them take peeks, or calls them take a looks. That's what I've been saying forever. It's just take a peek, take a peek, take a peek. I remember hearing that peek was a request. Come to or do was a command. And that people don't like to be commanded, especially adults, bless you. They don't like to be told what to do. They get told what to do all the time. But a peek is so small, it's so tiny, it's so little, it's like, oh, it doesn't seem like it's so bad. So here is the beginning of lean in, lean out. So when I first this came up to me, again, I'm obviously a very visual learner. So I kind of picture this chair as like the other person I'm going to talk to you about the business. And in the beginning, it's a very normal mistake we see consultants make, right? To lean so far in. You've got to build this business. We're going to go to Mercedes together, and we're going to go to Jamaica together, and then after we go to Jamaica, our husbands are going to retire. Like, we've leaned so far in, sharing great nuggets about this business that might all be true, but they are leaning so far out because you are crazy, right? And they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. So I got to thinking, well, what if I just leaned in a little? And then right when I leaned in, I know they're going to lean out. Like, hey, I just want to share a little bit about my business with you. Oh, shit, no, I don't want you talking about your business. That was like my worst fear. That's why I walked down the other aisle of the grocery store. I see you coming, So they kind of automatically lean out. And some of them don't. Some of them are curious, and they'll stay here. But the further I lean in, it's human behavior for them to lean out. Things get uncomfortable, people lean out. So when they lean out, so do I. And I use a lot of disarming statements and a lot of casual statements that'll take the pressure off. So this is what a conversation with Mo Boger sounds like if I'm trying to sponsor you. The first opening line, if I'm trying to get them on the phone, is a text message. Hey, do you have a quick second? That's my first statement because I want to send them a message via text because that's primary form of communication for a lot of folks, okay? And I want to get their permission to talk to them. They don't know if I'm going to text them or call them. Hey, do you have a quick second? Okay, so that's what happens. And they go, oh, yeah, sure, what? And then I say, okay, cool, because I'm going to call you. Oh, man, now I got to talk to her on the phone. See what I mean? Like, I'm getting permission, though, but they didn't know the medium. So now we're going to speak. Speak. I love to talk to people because I want them to hear my heart and hear my passion. Belief has a sound. How many times have you ever gotten in a fight with your husband over text message? Or your kids or whatever? There's no context there. You can't hear the heart behind it. Okay, awesome, I'm going to give you a call. Okay, so she picks up the phone. He picks up the phone. Thank you so much for taking my call. I just want you to know this is just going to take a minute because I'm literally racing between activities or racing between picking up kids. That silly statement is a disarming statement. This is only going to take a minute. I'm conscientious of the fact that your time is important to you and you took my call. So I'm going to promise you now that I'm only going to take a minute. Do not dismiss the value of that first statement. I only have a couple minutes myself because I'm running between things. That statement is critical. You know why? Because it teaches a potential business partner that I do this business in little teeny tiny nooks and crannies. It's all very subliminal, but you guys, these are important messages to get across. In the first few seconds, I have disarmed them and I've taught them how I do Arbonne. Not too shabby, not too shabby, right? Okay, so cool. Now I've got her attention. Yeah, sure. Why? What's up? Look, I want to be totally clear with you. This is going to sound like it's coming out of left field. Okay, so I'm leaned out right now. That's another disarming statement that I'm about to lean in. Okay, get ready for this. But I have to tell you that you have been on my heart. I was at this retreat this weekend with some of my fellow Arbonne entrepreneurs. And every time I sit in a room of women like this, I think of you. You guys, I'm leaning in, right? She's like, uh-oh, that was my greatest fear because I saw pictures of this on Facebook. So she's leaning out, okay? I thought she might call. Okay, so she's leaning out. And then, so now I'm in, right? And I think about you. And a couple of things that come to mind is how hardworking you are, how compassionate you are, and how generous you are. Now, I always give them 3 things, and none of them are BS. Don't make stuff up. Don't tell the Tigger in your life or the Eeyore in your life that she's a Tigger, okay? You are the most energetic person I've ever known. And she's like, no, I'm not. Don't lie to them. Tell them the truth and be authentic, okay? So now I'm really leaned in. So I just want to, you're one of those compassionate, hardworking people I've ever known. Now I'm in, so now I'm going to lean out. And I don't know for a second if this would be a fit for you. In fact, for all I know, it probably wouldn't be. You see how I'm just taking the pressure off? Because I basically kind of told her we should date, right? We should date, that we should Arbonne date. So now I have to take the pressure off because I don't want her to think I want to get married to her, right? You get why this matters? For all I know, this wouldn't be a fit. But I have to ask because you're on my heart and I think it's for a reason. Would you be willing to take a peek at Arbonne? Okay, now I've done the ask and then I'm just about ready to like get her answer, and then I say this. And here's the deal. If after you take a peek, the answer is no, please know the next time I call you, it will not be to talk about Arbonne. Do you see how I gave her permission to say no? People want permission to say no, and they want permission to know that the outcome will not affect your friendship. This is a valuable and important lesson for women. Now, sometimes if I know that I have someone who's not a scaredy cat or isn't a kind of, the relationship piece isn't a big issue for her, my closing line will be, so would you just be willing to take a peek? And then I say this, I'm leaning in, and please don't say no until you know what I'm offering. You hear that? Please don't say no until you know what I'm offering. I'm gonna step in that far because I think she's worth it to not be a no. And with those ones that are a little bit more sheepish or a little bit more delicate, I'm gonna use that other verbiage, you know, which is the whole, if you say no, don't worry, the next time I call, it won't be to talk about Arbonne. This is a bit of a finesse, but everything I said probably took no more when it's actually executed than about 60 seconds. But there is a psychology behind it. And what happens is when you tell them, please don't say no until you know what I'm offering, you're still leaned in and you are banking on the fact that they are going to meet you there because you have been firm, bless you. But they might say no. And at this point, you lean out. You know what, I really appreciate that. I heard it in your heart that this isn't a fit for you. But can I ask you, if in the future you come on my heart again, would you be open to the idea of at least me reaching out? I'm gonna keep that ball in my court. I'm not gonna immediately say, would you host a show for me? I'm gonna ask for permission to ask her again later. And most of the time they say yes. And I say, awesome. And I say, in the meantime, I want you to know that I'm growing my business. And it means the world to me to be able to meet new people and to grow networks. And what I want you to know about my business is that I have fun serving people. It would mean the world to me if we could get together 3 or 5 friends if you hosted a presentation for me. Now, I'm going to paint the picture for you because I want you to know I don't want you scrubbing your toilet and I don't want you hanging the disco ball. I'm going to bring the wine. 3 to 4 friends is all I'm looking for. Because guess what, Sarah? I heard that this wasn't a fit for you, that it might be a fit for someone on your couch. And more than that, and then I start talking about products, there might be someone in that living room who is looking to lose, 10 pounds, who's looking for great skincare. You see how I take the pressure off and now we're going to talk about the show? And now she goes, oh, yeah, I could host a show for you. Do you know why? Because she feels bad because she said no when I offered her the business. Go ahead and let obligation be your business partner. You guys, I said no to Tiffany to the business, and I hosted 4 shows for her. Because every time she would ask me, I would tell her no again, and she'd ask me for a show, and I'd say, okay. And then actually, as her hostess, though, I actually felt a little bit relieved, because I'm like, okay, cool, if I host a show for her, she won't talk to me about this business anymore. Sure enough, she'd get into my living room and spend an hour and a half talking about the business. You know what I mean? Like, that was her goal the whole time. And she dripped, and she dripped, and she dripped. So I want you guys to have this technique and to work on it with your leaders, because your leaders have developed what I call the cool factor. They're cool. And I don't own that. That's from Wendy Johnson, who's under Tara Branson's team. They're cool. And they do this really subtle dance with their prospects. And they do what Ashley Stanfield calls drip it and drop it. Drip it and drop it. You don't need to fire hose people, okay? So I hope that this becomes a tool for your business. And I hope that you acknowledge the simplicity in it. Because if someone says no to you to both offer the business and ask for the show, then you can just move them down the funnel again. Look, I really heard you. I heard you loud and clear when you said this isn't a fit for you. But I love these products so much, and I love your opinion, and what you say matters to me. I would love to at least get these products in your hands, because we've got these new eye gels that are rocking my world. If you haven't seen me at school drop-off, I look like I had a facelift. Okay, so I just use that kind of stuff, and I'm cool about it. right? It's a little bit of humor, and they're like, I'll totally try your eye gels. Oh my God, thank God she's letting me off the hook for the show and the business. I'll totally try her eye gels. You know, see, now I've got product in her hand. Now I've got a preferred client. I've got a relationship. She's getting a relationship to the product. She's now reordering. She's now eventually going to become a hostess. Hostesses make great consultants. You can climb the funnel. It's just usually easier to fall down one than to climb one. So that's why I always start at the top. And I very, very, very seldom start at the bottom. It doesn't mean that can't work too. Beck Malcook was a sample pack MVP, right? Sample pack in the mail. So I hope that's helpful. I know my time is up, but if you guys have questions about it, don't hesitate to send them to Carleeta.
You have an hour.
I have an hour? I thought it said 8:30. Oh, well, cool. Then let's ask questions.
Yeah.
And don't ask questions just of me, because your leaders have been doing this for a long time. And they have great, great verbiage that, like you even heard yesterday on the training, if I would you. If I asked you to host a demo, then would that be something that you would be, you know, open to the idea of doing? The next thing I would say to you guys is paint the picture. So one of the reasons that people say no to us about demos or shows or parties or whatever you call it is that we haven't painted the picture of what's expected. So Val Gunther always said, paint the picture, be the tour guide. You're the cruise director. So that's why I say things like, you don't have to scrub your toilet or hang the disco ball. 3 to 5 friends, me in your living room. I'll bring the fun, I'll bring the products, I'll bring even the bottle of wine. You just bring a couple people. See how I'm painting the picture for her? If I ask you to host a party, you're like, oh, I can't. A party? Especially a party to you means 35 people and fully catered. And some of your friends are like that. And I learned early on that people did not have the same definition of show, demo, party, workshop. So what is the vernacular that you're using most of the time? You'll need to describe what it means to that person, because party to you might not mean party to them. Demo to you might not mean demo to them. So, okay, so what questions do you guys have? And don't feel like you have to fill this time, because I'm sure we can move on to the other trainers. And yes?
My question is how long do you tell the new person that comes into your team when you're doing the sticky notes, like how long that's going to take? Because I've tried to meet with new business builders like that and like do the phone call or texting, and it's like they only want to spend 30 minutes when I feel like it's going to take an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Maybe that's too long. How do you let them know how long it's going to be and how long do you take?
So I have a rule of 30 minutes. And part of it is because if I had to sit down with my mentor for an hour and a half when we got this started, she would have had to meet me at the hospital because I didn't have an hour and a half. And actually, it's one of the reasons why I've also coached my team about lunch appointments and coffee appointments and even phone calls. Tell them how long you expect it to be, and then keep it to that time. And I used to actually have to set an egg timer, like to remind myself, this can't last longer than 30 minutes.